We are here at the French Embassy to make our declaration as the African Continental Unity Party. We have a beautiful gift for the French ambassador. That's the gift, right there. That's the gift that we have for French ambassador and for the entire French system in Africa. We want to say we are tired of French imperialism. This is a symbol of all our deaths that French has killed by sanctions, by war, by imperialism. And we're coming with this gift to deposit here.
Western countries have come to Africa for centuries to rob Africa of its resources. They should be admitting what they've done. Some are rich because of the resources they took from Africa. They never thought of helping Africa to develop. They subjugated Africa. They took the political power, economic power, and then made us, therefore, socially, to have no power at all. We had to fight to liberate ourselves. They were never here to help. They were here to rob. After decolonization, they continued to do so. They could no longer use political power. They influenced it indirectly, but they held on to the economic levers of these countries. They were dominating. They were benefiting. They were doing nothing to help us. They created banks that were instruments of subjugating us.
It's quite evident that the aid is in fact not coming from the West to Africa, but from Africa to the Western world. The Western world depends on Africa in every possible way, since alternative resources are scarce out here. So how does the West ensure that the free aid keeps coming? By systematically destabilizing the wealthiest African nations and their systems, and all that backed by huge PR campaigns, leaving the entire world under the impression that Africa is poor and dying and merely surviving on the mercy of the West.
Western countries continue to intervene in African affairs, especially by pressuring governments to conform to their own agendas. It is time for them to respect African sovereignty and leave us to govern ourselves without interference. African presidents do not meddle in Western politics, and we demand the same level of respect and autonomy. It is not the place of Western countries to act as both opposition and ruling government in African nations. It is time for them to leave us to manage our own affairs. But why are they interested in African affairs, especially in electing the presidents they want? I will tell you. It is because a sovereign Africa that is truly independent and that can defend itself will automatically mean the end of bullying, looting, and plundering of our natural resources. Hence, the end of Western hegemony. Without our raw materials, they would have no economies. They know it, but many alienated Africans still can't figure it out. Why are they fighting Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger? It is because they are taking ownership and full control over their resources. They hate to see them industrialize. This is why they are funding terrorism to destabilize Sahel, as General Chiani said some time back. You see, Mali's political parties have called for a time frame for presidential elections after the ruling junta failed to organize polls within the 24-month transition period promised to restore civilian rule. Mali has been under military rule since August 2020, following the first of 8 coups in West and Central Africa over 4 years, including in its neighbors Burkina Faso and Niger. Mali's interim governments have been slow to negotiate transitions to democracy. In response, some of Mali's main political parties and civil society groups have issued a joint statement calling for authorities to set up an institutional framework for polls as soon as possible. The statement, which has over 20 signatories, including a major opposition coalition and the toppled ex-president's party, declared their intention to use all legal and legitimate means for the return of normal constitutional order in the country. I distinctly remember the incident when Goita Assimi took control of the country and Emmanuel Macron tried to impose his own choices for the positions of president and PM. However, Assimi firmly rejected the idea and declared that he would lead the country himself. This incident highlights the fact that the West, particularly France, cannot sustain its dominance in Africa through puppet leaders. It's time for us to acknowledge this reality and take steps to empower African leaders to govern their own countries. It's in the name of holding elections, which, by the way, can be rigged, that thieves, certificate forgers, corrupt men ended up seizing power in Africa. I don't need to name them, you know them. This is what they call democracy. If this is democracy, to hell with that democracy. And if you remember, I also posted a video here where Mali PM said that if elections could make a country develop, that we would have been developed a long time ago. He asked this question, have we ever interfered into their elections? So I ask, why and who are they to always be quick to running their mouths and telling us what to do? He called on EU and the US to mind their own business and to stop meddling into our affairs. I know, because of slavery and colonization, they think they have a right to dictate to us their will. But this must stop. Let me give you another example for better understanding. This is Cameroon's Paul Biya, one of Africa's longest-serving presidents. He's 90 years old, came to power about 42 years ago after a coup, and is France's great ally in Africa. France is a Western democracy. A lot of revelation coming out now that can only be described as shocking. Western world preaches democracy, yet often supports or turns a blind eye to long-standing leaders who don't exemplify democratic principles, especially in Africa. France's relationship with leaders like Biya definitely goes to show that a lot of the ideologies the West have made us believe were the right ones were just to distract us from the true agenda. And the audacious nature of their execution shows they have zero care what the people of Africa think. It's time for true autonomy and self-determination for African nations without external influence, masking as support. Almost a century and nothing to show for the relationship Francophone countries have had with France. Isn't it shameful? Africa deserves better.
Let's try to have a discussion here. When in Africa the youth stand up and speak their voice, they are being called the revolutions. They are being called the revolts. They are being called names. They are being called or called names like they're not being seen as they're doing something to help themselves. So the Westerners like France, America, Britain, at this time they have to come out and say to the world or tell Africans what agenda do they had all those years they have been in Africa. They have to come out and explain to the world every agenda and every dream they had for the dream and agenda and the future of African continent, because these people has been in Africa for so long, many years, exploiting Africa, killing Africans, supporting terrorists, and supporting all these coups. And they have been doing this because they always benefit from it. They have been doing this because they do business with the terrorists. They do business with the governments that they supported, with the governments that they supported in coup processes, coup d'etats. So whenever you find any coup or any leader who is going against their will, they have to find a way on how to eliminate this leader. They have to find a way on how to fight him against his people. So that is how they have been doing all these years in Africa. That's how they have been taking Africa. They looked down towards Africa and just see Africans as slaves, but not the people who deserved this. Who deserved the better life, who deserved to have all the resources and use them. That's why they have been coming here each and every time to take all the richness from African ground, because they looked towards Africa in a different perspective as how we looked on ourselves.
One more thing, our people, the Africans, are being treated all around Middle East like a slave. You see, people go from Ethiopia, Nigeria, you know what I mean, from all African countries to these Arab nations to work, but they are being treated like a slave, my brother. So we need to talk about that, because the slavery still exists.
100%.
Slavery, it just changed the name. It just changed the
Modern
ways. It become modern.
Modern
But
slavery.
people are
As it's called.
still being enslaved by these Arab nations, these rich, oil-rich Arab nations.
Yeah.
But the issue the issue of Libya, though, we can't just mention Libya and blame the Arab without talking about NATO and the Western involvement of destroying this country.
And now, because now today the African and every colony has said that no to the foreigners. All the colonies have said no to imperialists, no to foreign policies. That's why today we are watching all that is happening. I never expected that maybe the country like France and Great Britain and America will come to start to face all this chaos, all this crisis today. We have seen today we are not, all that is happening today across the world, we are not being told. We are not reading from the books or novels. We are not reading from the history. But it's something that we are looking with our eyes, happening before our eyes. And today we are watching all that's happening in Great Britain. The country is out of control. The citizens are protesting because the government is now taking everything, every right away from them. Just the other day, the government has banned the Christianity in Britain, in UK, which has bring out an outrage, and the government in the whole country is outrage, is out fire. And now they said, and they have been used to say this, that Africa is not mature enough to govern itself. They have been always saying that Africa is not able to stand by itself or protect itself.
In Kenya, U.S. General Michael Langley made a statement that has ignited serious debate across Africa. He claimed African countries should accept U.S. military bases because, according to him, Africa isn't mature enough to develop advanced armies or technology to handle insurgency alone. Is this about security or superiority? Does Africa truly need foreign bases on its soil to stay safe? Or is this just another way to stay dependent? How long will the world keep telling Africa it's not ready, instead of recognizing its right to stand strong on its own terms?
They have been saying that Africa is not able to build and develop itself. So my question was, if that's how they think, if that's how they believe, why each and every time Africa produces any leader who is that fight for the African rights and build and develop Africa, they find a way to take him down? Why do they always take African leaders who stand up, who rise up and start to show the interest to fight for the African continent? Why do they don't let the African leaders who are having the vision of Africa to awaken Africa, to build Africa and empower Africa and African youths in general? Why don't they let these kind of leaders to live? Because they know. I always say this, but despite all the Westerners have been doing towards African continent since the time of slavery, they know the truth behind the power, the black. They know the truth behind the black. They know that behind blackness is power. That's why they've never ever let or allowed any African leader or black man to stand up and achieve or fight for his agenda and his dream. That's why today we speak about the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, assassination of Kwame Nkrumah, assassination of Malcolm X, assassination of Martin Luther Jr., because they had one agenda, and the agenda was the unity of Africa. So at this time, you people have been in Africa for so long. You have exploited African continent over centuries. You have looted. You have massacred. You have committed atrocities and genocides here in Africa. But again, all these years, all that you have been taking to Africa, you take. You looted everything without knowing or putting in your mind that this is a continent that lives millions of people. They deserve respect. They need good life. They need good infrastructures like roads and everything. They need the best health care. They need the best schools. You are taking everything from Africa and go to build in your countries because you are preparing the future of your generations. But you are forgetting that in Africa, we are still having the coming generations. The there are many generations that are coming in many years to come. So if you are here to take everything from this continent, what do you expect that the people of Africa or the coming generation will survive? And now today you are going to build the life of the kids and the people who will be born many years to come in your country, and you are leaving the African kids and children to suffer, to die due to hunger, due to health issues, due to drought, due to everything, and yet you are here preaching democracy, supporting human rights, human civil rights, supporting everything that consider is humanity, while you yourself, you are the one making problems and leaving damages in African continent, which generation over generation will come to face and suffer through the damages that you are creating today. And now, I think this is the best time. This is the best time. Pierre Lumumba said that all that is happening today in the country of France, the French governments, all of people from French never expected this to happen. And they have come to realize after everything has come in a full force and has covered the country of France, the land of France, which they cannot escape. And that's why today you see the great Europe is trembling, because they believe in France, because France is like a center to the development and the economy of entire Europe. And now, what next for the Europe? What next for France? Because at this time, I know that these people today don't have any plan to revive the economy, because the only way they can revive their economy is only if they can be allowed to come back to Africa. But again, when you come to Africa, for the countries that they have been exploiting, looting and taking everything, the people from those countries are now in charge, and they are the people to decide who to trade with, who to associate with, who to give out their richness. So this is a nightmare for France and the entire Europe, because the people that they have been used to oppress at this time they have been awakened, and they know what to do. They are not ready to be dictated with their minerals. And that's why today we as Africans and the black people in generally, we're here watching everything that's happening. And I always say that this is not accidentally. This is not accidentally because the French government, maybe it has a debt or anything, but this is a prophecy. And it was prophesied that a day like this will come and things will happen in a mysterious way. And now the tables are turning around. The people who used to eat on high tables are today on the ground. They're facing their punishment. This is the time for the for punishment. This is the time for prophecy. And we as Africans, we are only here watching, celebrating African achievement, because Africa is rising and the great empire is falling. I am talking to the black person, wherever you're from. Just tell me, what do you feel? What do you think about the whole situation? Because this is the time for the black man to put a smile on his face, because you have been looked down for so long, and this is your time to enjoy and to celebrate. Until next time, until next episode, you come and do the same. Thank you very much for being here each and every time, for people who are subscribing, sharing and commenting, sending me super thanks. Thank you very much for being here each and every time. I appreciate your support, because without you, there is no Kenyan Explorer. And be blessed watching from, I love you and appreciate your support.
It's quite evident that the aid is in fact not coming from the West to Africa, but from Africa to the Western world. The Western world depends on Africa in every possible way, since alternative resources are scarce out here.